What's going on, everybody, and welcome to a new episode of Tape Don't Lie. Cam Smith, I'm running the point, and on the wing, of course, I got my guy, Tim Doyle. And Tim, we're welcoming everybody to this senior edition of Tape Don't Lie because we're going to focus on two upperclassmen, and the first guy is going to be one of the more dominant bigs in college basketball, and that's Udoka Azubuike of the Kansas Jayhawks. Was a monster throughout the Big 12 and throughout the season, and a huge reason why the Jayhawks were ranked number one for the majority of the season.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting where he goes in this draft. I guess you could say falls in this draft because 10, 20 years ago, a guy like Azubuike, with the upside that he has, because he's only 20 years old. What did he start kindergarten? When he was like 3 years old? He's a 20-year-old senior, for crying out loud. My point is, 20 years ago, probably would have been a top 3 or 4 pick because of how dominant he is around the rim, blocking shots, dunking everything in sight. But now how the game has changed, he's going to have to show his evolution as a player, and we're going to do a deep dive into the tape to show you the pros and cons of the big man from Kansas.
Tim, we got the footage ready, so let's do it. Let's focus on the defensive side of the basketball for Udoka Azubuike. And not only was he one of the more efficient field goal shooters in the country, but he got it done on the defensive end, and this is a great play right here.
Well, watch how he moves his feet. I mean, obviously, when you got a 7'7" wingspan, it's going to be given that you're going to be able to block shots. But this footwork is uncanny. And Cam, don't you feel like this is what all the scouts are looking at? Because when a big gets on the floor now, there's so much pick and roll action to try to exploit him and his lack of footwork. This is what Azubuike is going to need to prove.
Yeah, I mean, he's playing possum on these pick and rolls because as a guard, and speaking of my experience, anytime I saw a big get switched off on me, my eyes light up because I'm like, I'm going to beat this guy to the rim. But Azubuike has the foot speed to stay with guards, and these are great plays here. He's there, cuts him off at one angle. Now, he gets beat initially on the crossover, but is able to recover with the quick twitch hips that he has to get that block.
Yeah, I think this is a good example of college versus pro because guys at the next level, once they have that edge, they're able to kind of make that decision a little bit closer to the rim. Think of Russell Westbrook. When he attacks, he's able to just kind of go right at the rim here. But this is his massive strength. This is what's going to translate to the next level. His timing, his ability to pick up his teammates, averaged nearly 3 blocks a game at Kansas. And that one flashed the arms emoji, all strength there for the big man.
And Tim, if you're on Azubuike's team, you have to feel confident that you have that type of help waiting behind you, or if things happen when you're in the pick and roll situation and your big gets switched off on a smaller guard, it has to give you more confidence to know that that guy is going to have your back.
You know, this is where I think someone who drafts him, Cam, has to have a lot of equity in the bank because the way the game is evolving and fives are playing out on the perimeter, you got to have a GM that's made some good picks, that's made some good decisions, because here's a guy who would have been great in a different era. But now that the game is so different, what do you think he's going to have to show or change at the next level?
Well, I think defensively he is fine since we're focusing on defense on these clips, but also he has to understand that he can't foul. And that's what we're watching in these clips, that he's playing defense and blocking shots without fouling. So that helps coaches have more confidence in him and putting him in situations where, hey, it's a late game spot, or if he needs to kind of bring some energy off the bench, which is probably going to be his role in the league, then throw Udoka out there and he'll get it done. His next evolution is going to be on the offensive end, facing up and extending his range. And we're going to get into those clips. But I just love that block right there. You have the arms emoji. I'm just going to do the X emoji. Like, nah, it's not happening now.
Yeah, I mean, that's things that are going to be guaranteed if you draft a guy like this, that he's going to be able to rebound and block shots. The offensive game, the free throw shooting, huge question marks. But on the defensive end, this guy is a stud.
All right, Tim, let's transition to the offensive side of the basketball. And we're going to look at Udoka Azubuike's ability to finish around the rim with strength. And I like to call this edition of his highlights Debo mode. These are the Debo highlights for all my Friday fans out there that have watched that movie and understand that that's a classic. This dude was Debo in the paint for Kansas against a lot of defenders. I mean, look at this here, right? You're going to have a kid in Braun who's heady as a player, finds Azubuike, and that's just a man's dunk.
Yeah, he does a great job of carving out space, meaning he tells his defenders, "This is my location. You need to kind of move, or you're going to get hammered on or dunked on." Shot nearly 80% at Kansas. I'll repeat, shot nearly 80%. There were years, Cam, where he doubled up percentage-wise. His field goal percentage was double his free throw percentage. So around the rim, really good. And you knew he had to know that he was going to take contact because he wasn't a great free throw shooter, that guys were going to kind of pressure him to go to the free throw line and make two. So they wanted to body him and be physical with him. Didn't really affect him much.
But Tim, are we surprised that his field goal percentage was that high? I mean, look at where he's catching this basketball. These are deep in the paint touches. And in this situation here, he just backs down his defender because he's just stronger than him and rises over the top with the hook. But remember this, you said shot nearly 80%. He's the record holder for field goal percentages in the NCAA. You think about all the great players that have played college basketball. That guy right there that just got hammered for it and won owns the best shooting percentage in NCAA basketball history, but it's no reason why he shouldn't be celebrated as we are celebrating him now. You got to do a lot of push-ups and hit a lot on the bench press to be able to finish that type of play.
Yeah, and I think he's still getting better because he's 20 years old. I mean, it's crazy to think that you're 20 and you graduate in college. Where is he, Doogie Howser? Like, that just showed my age right there. I like Doogie Howser, for crying out loud. If you haven't seen Doogie Howser, your life is not complete, all right? He graduated like medical school at 12. But he's got a huge upside, so he can keep improving, keep getting better. When I think about who I've seen like this before, I played against Greg Oden when I was at Northwestern. He was at Ohio State. I don't think he's as smooth as Greg, but he's somewhere between like a Greg Oden, Brendan Hayward comparison. Is that fair enough?
Yeah, that's very fair. When you think about just how they're able, both of those players in Hayward and Oden, they create position and they keep defenders on their backs like Azubuike is doing right here. But that's the Oden in him. That's the Hayward in him, where when that ball is up in the air and he's going up with two, it's almost like those arms extend even longer in the air and he finishes. So I love that comparison, TD.
Yeah, when I was at Northwestern, Oden played the middle of a 2-3 zone, and I shot a foul line jump shot once, and he jumped, and I just thought to myself, I wonder where the rim is.
Okay, TD, let's finish off these highlights for Udoka Azubuike, and we're going to focus in on what the NBA is maybe 90% of, and that's pick and roll, and this is for the bigs. Can we get like a little sports science thing going on? Because I want to know what his catch radius is to do that. Like, that is unbelievable. And ladies and gentlemen, that's a one-hand dunk. He didn't catch it with two. He caught it with one. So it talks about the size of his hands, the softness of his hands, but also the wingspan that he has to finish that type of play.
Yeah, he could live in a studio apartment, be on the toilet, cooking an egg, and answer the door all at once because that arms are crazy long there. This is what everyone sees him at the next level. Just like pick, throw it up to the rim, and make something happen. Like, I think his agility and his athleticism are only going to improve at the next level just because the training is better and all you're focusing on is playing basketball. I'm sure at Kansas he was really diving into those books. No offense. It's a joke, okay? It's a joke. But my point is, like, he needs to keep evolving the way Hassan Whiteside evolved, because Hassan Whiteside was kind of the same project when he was coming out of Marshall at the time. And now you look at his numbers and he's giving you like 16 and 13 every night. So that's the guy I would focus in on. It's like, if I can get as nimble as Whiteside, I could be effective at the next level.
Tim, I'm just trying to get the image out of my head of Azubuike using the bathroom, cooking eggs, and answering the door at the same time. I just got to get that out. But I love the Hassan Whiteside comparison. And what you talked about with Whiteside is his evolution. Now, keep this in mind. Azubuike came over to the United States from his native Nigeria at the age of 14. He's 20 years old. So for him to make that jump in 6 years, one, speaks to his intelligence, how he's able to adapt, and just his maturity as well. So I think he will be able to evolve and be a serviceable NBA player in the liking and makings of an Hassan Whiteside, or if you want to throw it back to the days of Brendan Hayward or Greg Oden, he can be those guys. But this is what he will be able to bring to franchises off the bench, maybe even in a starter role on these pick and rolls where he's able to roll to the basket and he has these quick feet. The timing that he has with his feet is beautiful. So I know, Tim, if you were down at Kansas, you would have loved to play with Azubuike on the pick and roll.
Oh, no doubt. You just throw it up, right? And if you're Bill Self, I actually don't know how far Azubuike's game has evolved, because if you're Bill Self, you're like, hey, buddy, you shoot 80% from the field. You're bigger than everybody. You're taller than everybody. Like, let's not mess around like some like 8-foot jumpers, right? Let's just get as close to the rim as possible. And that's fine. I mean, college coaches, as you and I both know, are control freaks. So he probably didn't let Azubuike probably grow as a player. I will say this, though. If I'm a GM, I'm passing on him. I just think the game is evolved so much. And the fact that if I haven't got to see him in individual workouts and maybe that evolution, I just think the game has changed too much from 10, 20 years ago when he would have been ultra valuable. I think he's got a huge upside. He's just not for me.